Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this FRGS Workshop Sharing Sessions. So we'll be starting soon, while we're waiting for the rest of the participants to come in. So first of all, of course, thanks a lot for the support. And also would like to thank our three speakers today, who is TS Dr. Swee Siew Hong, Dr. Tiam Hui San, and also Dr. Chua Xing Yi for willing to actually share their experience and their personal tips in how they're able to secure the FRGS last cycles. So it's very honored to be able to invite them to share their experience with us today. So we sincerely hope that their experience and the content or knowledge that they share today will be able to benefit the rest of the participants who participate today, so that they can help you guys to prepare a better grant applications, and you have maybe you'll be able to point out some let's say areas of improvements in your grant applications, so that we can increase the chances of securing the grant in the future. So we hope that these workshops will be able to benefit all the participants here today. So as you can see, our sharing sessions will be divided into three parts. The first sharing sessions will be conducted by TS Dr. Swee Siew Hong, followed by Dr. Tiam Hui San, and lastly, but not least, Dr. Chua Xing Yi. And after that, we'll have a Q&A sessions. So depending on how many questions that we have, so of course the Q&A sessions can be extended. So we'll see at that time. So while they're presenting, so hopefully you guys can take note of any questions that you guys have and present it or ask to the panels yourself during the Q&A sessions. Or alternatively, you guys can also pause in the chat box, so that during the Q&A sessions, then I will read out and direct to the panels to answers. Hopefully they'll be able to provide you with some good insights and be able to resolve some of the confusion that you have. So okay, so I think our time is almost up, so there are more and more participants coming in. So again, I'd like to remind you that the FRGS and PRGS cycle for this coming cycle will need to be submitted to IPSR latest by 11th of January. So before submitted to IPSR, of course, you have to go through the faculty approval first. So I think for the faculty's deadlines, you have to submit through the Google link by the latest by 10th of January. So please make sure you guys submit your proposals through the Google link before that time. And of course, before you submit through the Google link, you guys will also need to ensure that it has obtained the approval from the research chairperson that you have. So for CPAMR, the Center of Photonics and Advanced Materials, so you guys can actually send to me, and if it's almost reaching the deadline that I haven't responded, so you guys can actually text me and to remind me in case I missed out your application. Okay, so without further ado, I think we'll start with our first sharing sessions today, which will be shared by TS Dr. Swee Siew Hong. So Dr. Swee, I'll pass the floor to you.
Okay, can you hear me first of all?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so I would like to share my slide first. Okay, can you see the slide?
Yep, I can see the slides. Yep.
Okay. A very good evening to Dr. Stephen Lim, the moderator of this FRGS Workshop Sharing Session, and of course to the distinguished speakers, Dr. Tiam Hui San and Dr. Chua Xing Yi. Not to forget all my fellow colleagues from LKC FES, as well as the CPAMR members. I'm Sweet here. Would like to wish every one of you Merry Christmas, and also in 2 days' time we celebrate the New Year of 2022. So I also wish every one of you to have a great year ahead. So first of all, I would like to thank CPAMR and also Dr. Stephen Lim for giving me this opportunity to share my experience in FRGS grant applications. So without further ado, I would like to start my presentation. So this will be the outline of my today's presentation that includes the grant titles, keywords and objectives, and how we can form the research team in our FRGS proposal, the novelty of the project and references, and how we can formulate the research questions, the government policy, what we can do in patent search, risk assessment, as well as budget. So before I go into detail, I would like to actually tell everyone or mention to everyone that all the information that I share today was not the so-called black and white rules stated in the guideline of FRGS. Actually, all these are my personal preference or what I do when I prepare my FRGS proposals. Of course, all these informations are actually, I've gathered it since I was a PhD student who prepared the FRGS proposal for my supervisor, and also the tips or experience that shared by the very experienced professor that I have known. So I hope all these informations actually can help you in your FRGS applications. I consider myself as a very lucky person because I received FRGS grant 2 times. My first FRGS was back to the year of 2018. That time the applications was under University Malaysia Perlis. The amount that I received was around 66K for 2 years of grant duration. Unfortunately, that time in the same year, I resigned from University Malaysia Perlis, and I have to pass the grant to the colleague or the team member who is the staff of University Malaysia Perlis. And the second FRGS was the one that being announced this September 2021. The amount that I received was around 165K for 3 years of grant durations. First, I would like to quote a Chinese proverb, which is 工欲善其事，必先利其器. It means that well preparation is very important to achieve great success. Maybe you wonder why and how these Chinese proverbs can be linked to the FRGS grant application. Actually, this is to remind every one of you to get yourself the latest guideline of the grant applications before you start your proposal writing. It is very important for you to familiar with the guideline of FRGS to make sure that you do not deviate from the focus of FRGS and make sure you stay on the right track. The first impressions of our proposal or our project to the grant evaluators or the reviewers, perhaps is the title of our project. So an eye-catching, interesting titles actually can help to attract the attentions of the reviewers immediately. And we are now applying for the grant of FRGS. So the F stands for fundamental. Therefore, our proposal title must sound fundamental. So here are some of the keywords that sounds fundamental that which you can consider to put in your proposal title, such as mechanism, behavior, or kinetic. And I have to apologize that because a lot, maybe in this session, all the examples or maybe the keywords that I have shared actually are related to chemical engineering. But I think it doesn't matter because you are the expert in your respective research area. So I think you know the best what are the fundamental keywords in your research area, which you can put in your proposal title. And try not to use the words that brings the meanings of synthesis, that brings the meanings of application, such as synthesis, productions, optimizations, and application, because these kind of keywords are actually not the focus of FRGS. So when you have your title that sounds fundamental, and of course, your keywords and objectives will follow, because especially in objective, because the objective and the title are highly related to each other. So maybe some of the keywords in the title, you may consider to use it in the objectives as well. So this is the title of my FRGS project and the keywords. So as you can see that I include the fundamental keywords in my title and keyword, and the same goes to the objective. So there are 4 objectives in my project, and as you can see, I also include the fundamental keywords in my objective. So when it comes to core researchers, according to the FRGS guideline, the project team must contain an expert in the same field with the project leader in the same institution. So actually this is the statement stated in the FRGS guideline. So it means that besides you, one of the team member must come from the same institution, which is Utah, and also his or her research area must be the same with you. If you can't find anyone that exactly the same, try to find someone that is highly related to your research area. This is because I think the purpose of this guideline is that this person will be assigned as the next leader. In case in the grant duration, you resign like me in 2018 when I resigned from UniMap. So you have to assign another leader of the project. And this will be the person who will be the next leader and continue the project. So therefore, the area of expertise column in our application form became a very important criteria. Actually, I received the concern or comments from the grant reviewer on this aspect as well. So this means that actually the grant reviewers, they do check all the researchers, the area of expertise of all researchers one by one. So make sure you can fulfill this criteria. And another personal practice of mine during the formations of my research team is to have a professor level researcher in my research team, because I think that I myself, I consider myself as a new researcher, so it is always good to have an experienced professor that who can guide me through the FRGS journey. At the same time, my research team also consists the member from others in this institution. So I think it is a good opportunity through FRGS. We can expand our collaboration. Who knows, one day, one of the members, the core researchers, when they want to apply for the FRGS, they will invite you as the core researchers as well. Besides title, I think novelty of the project is another important criteria to tell the government why they should invest in our project. So as we all know, there are a lot, thousands of applicants to fight for the very limited budget in FRGS. So novelty of the project will be one of the deciding factors on who will win the FRGS. Therefore, the novelty of the project must be clearly highlighted in the proposal, especially in the executive summary and novel theories, new findings, knowledge under the sections of expected results and benefits. At the same time, in our proposal, we are required to have an updated reference list. So how to define updated reference list? Actually, it is usually we will cite the reference or journals in recent 5 years. That means that when you apply for the FRGS grant for 2022, so the recent 5 years will be starting from 2017 to 2022. Okay, so after we have the updated reference list, one popular and common questions that always come from the grant reviewer or evaluator. So they will always like to ask, what are the significant differences between your proposal and those reported in literature? Because the purpose for us to cite the recent 5 years of journals, because we want to indicate or we want to show that our research area actually is in the current state. That means it's not outdated, it's up to date. So until now, there are still a lot of researchers focused in this area. But after we cite the latest 5 years journals, then the questions come from the evaluator that what are the differences between you and the others that makes you stand out? So perhaps the novelty of the project can help you to answer these questions. So for example, so when I want to highlight my novelty of the project in the FRGS applications, I will always write like this, just a little bit on my background. My background is on the wastewater treatment. So when I want to highlight the novelty of my project, I usually will write, for example, as reported in literature, those reported in literature, the removal of the pollutants focus only on adsorption method. But the novelty of the project that means the novelty of my project is the simultaneous adsorption and degradation, which can overcome the problems that focus only in adsorption. That means in one sentence, I already mentioned the novelty of my project, which is the simultaneous adsorption and degradation. And at the same time, I let the reviewer or the evaluators know that what cited in the journals, what I have cited in the recent 5 years journals, they only focus in only one method, which is the adsorption methods. And that is the point that I want to highlight in the novelty of the project. Next, how can we formulate the research questions in our FRGS proposal? So actually, the research questions can be formed from our objective. That means we can ask the questions from our objectives. Of course, we need to use how and why while formulating the research questions. So here are the 3 examples of my research questions that I formed for my FRGS proposal. The first one is how the adsorbent behaves, how the pollutants are removed, either adsorption or degradation mechanism, how fast in terms of kinetic the reactions happen. So as you can see, I use how to ask the questions, and also I include the fundamental keywords in my research question as well, to show that actually my project is highly related to the fundamental research. So in terms of government policy, try your best to link the project with current government policy. So as you can see in our applications form in section number 5, relevance to government policy, and there is a bracket saying if any. So it means that actually this section is not compulsory for you to fill up, but try your best not to leave this section blank. So of course, to fill up this section, you need to spend some time doing some readings or information searchings to find out the current or available government policy, which can relate to your project. And the same goes for patent search. Actually, for FRGS, it is not compulsory to do the patent search, but it is always no harm to fill up the section. So to me, patent search is just to play around with the keywords. My personal approach in patent search, there are 2 approach in while I doing the patent search. The first one is to show the increasing trend in the keywords that I search. This is because I want to show that my research area is still in high popularity among the researchers in the world. And then after that, from the patents that fall under the search keyword, actually none of it similar to my project. Maybe it sounds a little bit difficult for you to imagine or understand. Now, I give you one example. So my project is about the simultaneous magnetic adsorption and degradations of microbial pollutants. Of course, when I do the patent search, the keyword that I insert is magnetic separation. So through the search results, I found that there are 214 patents found under magnetic separation. Of course, there will be graphs in the search results, and the graph shows that in these 214 patents are actually in the increasing trend. So this is how I explain in the patent search sections. And also I add another sentence that, however, out of these 214 patent search, none of it was actually same to my project. That means none of it is similar to simultaneous magnetic adsorption and degradations of microbial pollutants. So this is how I explain and perform the patent search for FRGS grant. So it is always advised everyone to perform the SWOT analysis for the risk assessment. So SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. of course, you are the expert in your respective area. So you should know the best what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunity and threats for your project. So you need to list down all the 4 items in detail. And also you need to, in the applications form, you need to rank the risk level of these 3 elements, the technical, timing, and budget. So make sure you rank these 3 elements to control the risk of these 3 elements in between low or medium level. So for technical, in low risk level doesn't mean that your technology of your grant or your project is very low. Actually, we can interpret it as the chances for the accidents or something bad to happen from your technology. That means that your high technology, but the risk to cause accident is very low. And the same goes to budget. So of course, we always keep our budget low to show that our project is a low budget project, but with great impact to the society or to the country. And lastly, for the budget, according to FRGS guideline, the maximum amount for FRGS is 250K. However, do not approach the ceiling of 250K while you do your budget. So actually, this is one of the advice or so-called tips from one of the grant evaluator, a professor from USM. So he advised that for 2 years project with a master students, try to control your project in the amount of less than 100K. So for 3 years project with a PhD student, maybe the budget you can make it around 120 to 180K. In addition, my personal practice while I prepare the budget for the FRGS proposal is to include the quotations or the reference price for each item, including the characterizations of sample. For example, if you want to do the scanning electron microscope, I will include how much per sample of the analysis and attach it as quotation. That means attach it in the FRGS grant. At the proposal. Lastly, I would like to remind everyone, try not to leave any section blank. Try your best to fill up all the sections in details in the available in the applications form. And what you need is that you need a lot of luck, because I think that all of us are capable to come out with an interesting or good proposal. But sometimes to determine who will get the FRGS, it really depends on luck. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish every one of you to have a lot of luck in your applications. Thank you.
Thanks again to Dr. Sweets for his wonderful sharing. Yep, so I do agree. Of course, the luck also will play an important role, whether we can secure the grant or not. Of course, in the meantime, we can do our part to ensure that the grants that we have prepared is 100% ready in order to be evaluated. Okay, so in that case, we'll move on to our next presenters by Dr. Tiam Hui San. So Dr. Tiam, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello, Dr. Steven, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thanks. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So this is Tiam from Chemical Engineering Department. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Steven for inviting me to share my experience in this sharing section. So to be honest, I actually do not have much experience applying for grant, especially for external grant. So this was actually my third try okay, at applying for this FRGS grant, and this was my my first success. Okay, so because of my limited experience, so today I'm just here to share about my experience of getting this FRGS grant. Okay, the process of getting this FRGS grant and how I improve my writing skill. Okay, so actually before I start writing my proposal, I registered and attended 2 workshops, okay, 2 grant writing workshops. One was given by Dr. Sumati and the other by Prof. Chong. So, and after this workshop, I actually felt much motivated to start writing my proposal. And I tried to apply what I learned from the workshop to my proposal. For example, the keyword used in the title, in the objective, and also what information should be included in the executive summary, literature review, and so on. So I will show some example from my proposal later. So, and also if any one of you want the workshop material, you can ask from me later. So then besides the workshop, I also refer to some sample proposal from my co-researcher. Okay, I refer to their writing style and also how they organize the flow. So then it took me about 2 to 3 weeks time to complete my proposal. Then after that, I sent my proposal to some experienced researcher, okay, and asked for their feedback. So after receiving their feedback, I think I revised my proposal for 3 times. And we also had some discussion on how to improve my proposal. So if this is your first time applying for this grant, my advice is to share your proposal to those experienced researcher and ask for their comment. So from there you can improve and know how to write a good proposal. So and so for this sharing section, I'm not going to cover all the components in my proposal. First, because of the time constraint, and also secondly is because here we have 3 speakers. So I think I do not need to cover all the components in my proposal. So I will just only focus on a few points that came to my mind. Okay, so the first one, the title. So the title of your proposal should be self-explanatory. So meaning that the people or the reviewer can understand, can know the aim or objective of your study, okay, as well as the expected outcome of your study just by looking at your title. Okay, so for example, in my case, one of the objectives of my study is to investigate the self-healing mechanism of the membrane. Okay, so I included this keyword, the self-healing mechanism, in my title. And also because this FRGS grant is for fundamental research. So the keyword used must be related to fundamental. Okay, so I included this mechanism keyword in my title. And also I included the durable, okay, this durable keyword in my title so that people can know the expected outcome of my study, which is to improve the durability of the fuel cell system. And also try to avoid abbreviation in your title and keep your title short and precise. The next things that I learned from the workshop, which make me think a lot, is the objective. So the objectives are actually the specific activities that you will conduct to achieve the aim of your project. Okay, and the aim is the end result of your study. What do you want to achieve with your study? So in my study, there are 3 objectives here. So that means there are 3 specific activities to achieve the aim of my study. And the objective should describe the outcome of an activity and not the process. So this is actually I learned from the workshop, but I didn't really get it when I prepare my proposal. So so now based on my understanding, I would like to change the keyword of my objective, so to better reflect the output of the activities instead of the process. So for example, the first objective, okay, instead of using study, okay, I would suggest to use the identify, the word identify to show the outcome of the activity, of the first activity. And for my second objective, okay, I would suggest to use either to increase or to improve the self-healing efficiency of the membrane by varying the concentration of these 2 components. And for the third objective also, I think it is better to either use to increase or to improve the performance of direct monofield cell by a certain percentage as compared to the commercial membrane. So so that how I included the number in my objective so that it will become measurable. All right. So but for this part, if you have any other idea or any other suggestions, so please welcome to discuss with me later. And next, executive summary. So executive summary is also very important as it gives people the first impression of your project. So according to what I learned at the workshop, the executive summary should include the following information. Okay, so first, a brief introduction. 1 or 2 sentences should be enough, okay, for this introduction. And the problem statement, okay, so what problems you are solving with your study. And next, the unique selling point. Okay, why is your project so special? Okay, so for example, for my study, I emphasize the self-healing property of my material. Okay, in my executive summary as my unique selling point. And the research gap. All right, and the aim or objective of your study. Okay, as well as the expected outcome, okay, need to be included in your executive summary. And next approach, okay, the method used to solve the problems, and also how to quantify the success of your study. Then the last sentence, maybe you can include one statement to show the significance of your study. Okay, why is your project so important? And next, the budget part. So the budget is also a major consideration. The budget must be accurate, complete, and justified. Okay, so try to describe every budget item in your proposal in detail. And if possible, attach the quotation that you get from the supplier or from any or the price group from any website. Also, when prepare your project, when preparing your budget, always follow the guideline provided by the funder. Okay, for example, the stipend for master student cannot exceed 2,000, and the traveling and transport budget cannot exceed 40% of the total budget. Okay, so try to make sure that your proposed budget does not exceed the allowed budget. And next, another two components I would like to share with you are the pattern search and risk assessment. So these two components together with the research collaborator component are a new addition last year, if not mistaken, but I didn't include any research collaborator for my project because I couldn't get any due to time constraint. But still, I think it is best to have a collaborator either from industry or other USD. Okay, so just try your best to meet all the requirements set by the funder. Regarding this pattern search, I think IPSR will send you a file showing the step how to perform the pattern search. So what you have to do is just follow the step in the file and answer a few questions, simple questions to complete the pattern search report. And also you can try to emphasize the trend of pattern publication in your proposal to show the potential of your project in certain field. Okay, for example, this one to the increasing trend of pattern publication. Okay, show the future potential of your project in certain field. And the next part, the risk assessment. So for this one, you can include a few risks that may occur during your project. So, and for each risk stated, try to include the root cause, the impact, and also the response plan to show that you are well understand and you can handle such risks during your project. Okay, so this is the example for you for your reference. And so to summarize the main point of my sharing, to prepare a good proposal, first we must follow the instruction provided by the funder side. Try to meet all the requirements and try to provide all necessary information in your proposal. Then organize your proposal in an understandable way, and try to keep your proposal brief and straightforward. Okay, and also to me, another things that helped me a lot is actually the feedback and comment from my co-researcher from our research center chairperson, Dr. Steven, and also from our colleagues. Okay, so there are actually many experienced researchers around us, and they are very helpful. So if times allow, I would suggest you to share your proposal to all those experienced researchers to ask for their feedback. All right, so I think that's all for my sharing. Yeah, thank you for your attention, and good luck with your application. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thanks to Tian for her wonderful sharing on, especially on her personal experience and also some personal tips. I think it will be very useful for a lot of us, especially when we are preparing for our proposals. Okay, so last but not least, now let's invite our third speaker for today, Dr. Chua Xin Yi, to share about his experience in applying for the FRGS grant. So Dr. Chua, the floor is yours.
Can you see my share slide?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. All right. So I actually didn't prepare a lot. Actually just based on my experience. So I have applied FRGS for second time. Okay, 2021 will be my second time, and it is so lucky that I got it. So I got the my topic is actually more towards ICT domain. So my title is more on the vision and image processing. Okay, so I will randomly go through some points that I think worth to share with you guys, but I will not go through the whole proposals. And actually, my proposal application form already shared out by FGO, so you can feel free to get a copy from the email and then see the entire details of my application anyway. So on the budget side, I got the budget amount total is 140,000 for 2 years project. So I got one master student allocation, which is the approved amount is a bit different from my initial budget. My initial budget is about 154, so it's about 14K deduction. Okay, so you can see on my file, right? Actually, on the left hand side, I actually list out the budget types, the component that actually maintain normally. So first of all, the allocation for the postgrad student, either you are applying for master or PhD students, you can just refer to the guideline for the maximum allowance allowed, then just use that amount. Okay, for 2 years for master or 3 years for a PhD. Then for equipment, my advice is for all the equipment that you itemize, get the quotation or maybe the online catalog price. You can print out the PDF as a supporting documents. Then the research material and supply also the same, depending on your research nature. So you might use up some equipment and research material. And since I provided all the quotation, I think that's the reason why they maintain all my budget over that side, the two categories. Whereas on the right hand side, they actually reduced some of my amounts in certain category. They didn't cut off the whole category, but they reduced some of the amount. So first of all, the journal publication charges. My initial budget, actually, I applied for 2 journal publications, but they only allowed 1. Okay, so they cut about 9,000 that I apply for the journal publication charges. And then the conference registrations is allowed, but then they also cut some of the amount. Okay, so you have to adjust after that when it is approved. Okay, and traveling and transportation, I apply for some local because I have a collaborator in the other university. So I do apply for local traveling fee and also overseas traveling fee for the conference. So they also try to cut some of the amount. But then overall, the amount they cut is about 14,000. Okay, so in summary, based on my experience, I think it's best for you to itemize all your budget that you need, especially for the equipment and research material that you have to secure. So itemize it, get the quotations, and it looks like it will be a very strong supporting document to secure the budget. Okay, so and then accordingly, I will try to put in some remarks that I received from the panel along the 2 revision, and also including the remarks that I got after my proposal actually approved. So from here, I hope that to show you guys what are the typical components or what are the points that actually panel, from the point of view, the panel would like to look into. Okay, so that you can be careful with this kind of points. First, I think Dr. Tiam and Dr. Sweet also mentioned on the titles. I think an interesting title or significant title could be very helpful for you to get the first impression. So title, I got the remarks for my initial proposal. The panel say that the title need to be specific and customized. So as an example, my initial title sounds like this: computational single pixel imaging based on compressive sensing. And then you can see my revised title, which is the approved form. Okay, I do add in a specific techniques with efficient sub-Nyquist sampling and reconstructions into my titles. It looks more specific, closer to what I'm proposing in my project. Okay, then secondly, on the objective, which also mentioned by the two speakers before me, I also received similar comments. The panel asked me to use keywords related more to fundamental, because FRGS is a fundamental research grant. So, for example, I can give you an example for my case, right? One of my objective, actually, I say explore into the imaging technique based on what, right? So I received this kind of comment, then I revised it from the explore, I change it to investigate or some other keywords. This is more towards to sound more like fundamental research. So these kind of keywords are important to give the impressions to the panel so that your objective or what you're proposing actually match the FRGS domain. Okay, then the research activities are in general, you don't need too many. My one is about 10 to 11. Okay, my initial proposal, actually, maybe the way I break down the activities a bit too many already. Maybe some of the activities, if I put in like 1 month, right? So the panel actually commented on that, try to combine this kind of smaller tasks into one activity for 2 or 3 months basis, so that your research activity overall won't be too many. Okay, and then when you group into the milestone, will be easier for you or maybe more organized. Okay, and one of the sections in FRGS applications, the relevance to government policy. In my initial application, I didn't fill in the section, and it's not compulsory to fill in if not mistaken. Okay, but then I will advise you to fill in, because this is also one of the comment I got from panel. The panel asked me to fill in the section. So the example given here is actually also for my proposal. After I revised my proposal, so I tried to fill in these sections, and I try to link it to the sustainable development goal. Okay, which I think everyone should be quite familiar with these terms already. So try to relate to the SDG goals, and maybe you can put the same sentence in your executive summary as well to make your proposal looks more interesting in the executive summary. Okay, so these are some of the comments in my final version of which is the approved version. Okay, so these are the intention for me to put in this point is that to let you know what are the maybe the MoHE panels that will look into certain points, certain components which they put the remark here. Okay, for the references that do comment that in my proposal, majority of the references are up to date. I think this is very important for my proposal. I think I do include quite a lot, maybe 30 to maybe 40% to 50% of my reference are actually the last 5 years. Okay, then the flow chart is, you need to include a flow chart in your proposal, and then try to relate your flow chart to the methodology. I think methodology is one of the important part for the panel as well. So they want you to demonstrate the methodology, how you're going to conduct the whole research activities. Okay, then the expected publication, this is a compulsory sections you need to fill in. And if you follow, I don't know whether the rules changed this year, but follow last year, right? They say that each proposal must produce at least 2 index journal, which one of them must be a WOS. But then for my application, actually, that time I actually put in 2 WOS journal. And I also list out the potential journal related, and try to put the journal that is most relevant to your field, because I can see that the panel also look at the journals. So that's why I get the comment on the suggested journal actually more related to the proposed project. So I guess they will actually look at the journal that you suggested. Okay, and also since the journal, I suggested the journal, which I also propose the budget, right, for the publication charges. So for example, the IEEE access actually require a certain amount for your publication. So since I asked for the budget, so I have to identify the potential journal, and if possible, you can also give the quotation, give the charges quotations as a proof to support your budget. Okay, so others point that I want to remind, in my opinion, since this is a fundamental research, so maybe it's good to list out the relevant algorithms, equations, or model or design in the methodology section. Okay, for my proposal, if you look at the samples sent out, actually my methodology, I don't actually derive all the equations, but just list out the fundamentals or the algorithm, the model that you need to support your methodology. And of course, it also depends on the project nature, because my project is more on ICT and image processing, but for chemical or mechanical, that may be a different story or different view. Okay, but emphasize on the algorithm, equations, or design, or your proposed method is important in the methodology, I guess. Okay, for the milestones, for my milestone, as I mentioned before, I do organize my activities into I only have 4 milestones, 4 major milestones, which I organize per 6 months basis. So it's quite clear for me for the 2 years project. So I have 4 different milestones, which is divided for the 6 months basis. But it's not, it's just my preference. It's not a golden rules, or there is no guideline on how many milestones or how many months you have to keep on how many months basis. Okay, the expected results, this is what I list out. For my 2 years project, actually I do expect 1 master student. That's why my budget also apply for 1 master student. I do put a remark, which normally my research actually involve FYP and some URS. I do not include any IP. I think it is not compulsory, but you can include the IP if you think you need it. Okay, and for the budget, like I mentioned before, try to get the quotation or listed price as a supporting document, which in my opinions, it is very strongly justified all the budget that I need. Okay, for pattern search, I think Dr. Chiam and Dr. Sweet also mentioned. Okay, the details I don't need to go through, but I do include it, although it's not compulsory. For research collaborator, it's the same. It's not compulsory, but I also do include it. It's not necessary for you to have both industry and academic collaborators. You can get either one. Okay, for my case, I only have 1 academic collaborator, which is outside of Utah. Okay, for the risk assessment, this is an example. As you can see in my proposal, I don't have a guideline on like what should you rate for your risk, but then I think definitely it's not good for you to rank high for all the 3 categories for technical, timing, and budget. For my proposal, actually, I rank everything mediums. Okay, and I do comment a little bit on why I do rank my overall risk as medium. Okay, you can refer to my sample proposal as well. Okay, that will be a few points that I observe and I would like to share with you. And I think at the end, I think it's just a matter of luck. Okay, and I would wish all the best to all of you in your FRGS application. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks again to Chua again for her very useful sharing, getting related to her personal experience in applying this FRGS grant. I think there are a few key points that a lot of us can actually benefit from there while we are preparing for our grant as well. Okay, so now we have listened to our the sharing session from three speakers, prominent speakers. So I guess some of you may have some questions that you guys want to ask our panels. So I'd like to open the floor for the Q&A. Is there any questions from the floor? Any clarifications you guys want to make regarding the current proposal you are currently preparing? Do feel free to post it here, or you can also open your mic to ask our panels. Is there any questions? Okay, so far looks like there's yep, yes, Dr. Lim, yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. I have one thing. I think.
Dr. Lim, your sound is quite soft. Is it possible for you to increase the volume of your sound?
Hello. Can you
Yes.
hear? Yeah,
Yes,
is,
now it's better.
because of the MS Team has a conflict with my laptop.
Oh,
So
okay.
it always cause the mic to be very low voice, and then you have to switch on the voice recorder a while, then it immediately become good. Until now, I don't know how to fix the problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can
I
listen.
have one.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Just now you said a problem, right? No, that problem because of the Windows setting. It automatically change the auto reduce the volume setting. You know.
Oh.
You can change that. You go to the Windows. You can change that to not allow to auto reduce the volume, because he's trying to adjust the volume. You know.
Oh, okay. Thank you very
I
much.
also faced the same problem, but after that I searched, then I found this is the problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, my question is, I have one is to get confirmation. The second one is a question. The first one, if not mistaken, for the reason FRGS I read, if we write a pattern, IP, let's say you give a number, one pattern or two pattern, then according to the new one, they must, you must comply with it. Means that you must file the pattern, even though they don't support the pattern filing fee. This one I just would like to get confirmation. The second one is a question for this in the objective. In the objective, when we write the objective, if we write like to set up a experiment, is this kind consider fundamental or not? Because sometimes in the past, when I was rejected, sometimes the panel are sensitive to some of the keywords. So for example, develop, they definitely will put it as a non-fundamental. So I don't know to set up a experiment, but our experiment is a fundamental. We just need to collect some data, but I don't know whether this is considered as a non-fundamental in their mind. Yeah, that's my two questions.
Okay, thanks, Lim, for your questions. So, is there any panels want to answer the Lim questions?
Okay. Right.
Sorry.
Dr. Cha? Yeah. Dr.
The
Cha, you can answer. Yeah.
Sorry, the IP part, right? I do actually attend the sharing from IPSR last time. They say that the IP is actually not compulsory under FRGS. For PRGS, I'm not sure. For FRGS, it's not compulsory. So there's no allocation given for the IP under FRGS. But then for those who already get the project approved, right, which they stated in their application with one IP or two IPs, for example. So if they promise and approve, they have to deliver as the output. That's why I show the snapshot, right? For my example, I actually put 0. I didn't actually promise any IP, which is fine, which is not compulsory. But then during the sharing by the IPSR, there are actually quite a lot of people actually ask the same questions as Dr. Lim asked. That's why I know about this issue. Then they won't support any allocation for the IP. So you have to take notes of that. And I also seems like the email sent out by the FGO, right? They do include the briefing slide about the FRGS. So you can you can actually look for the information. It's already mentioned in the slide also. So I think it's official information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Silva, maybe I answer Dr. Lim's second questions to set up the experiment. So for Dr. Lim, maybe, yeah, I do agree with you that some of the reviewers, they are very sensitive to the keywords. Actually, I do try before using the same sentence like you to set up something. So at the end, I also being commented by the reviewer saying that this is actually not the fundamental approach the means of fundamental approach in writing our objective. Maybe Dr. Lim can turn it into like to investigate something so that it will sound that it more fundamental because while investigating, that means you are doing the experiment to find out your fundamental study, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Tiam, do you want to add anything?
Okay, I do agree with Dr. Sweet, but instead of I think for the just now the second question to set up an experiment, maybe you can tune a bit the word used in your objective and can put it as one of your objective, like take it as one of the specific activities to achieve the aim of your study. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I just like to add on regarding the IP part. So although from the FRGS grant, basically there's no allocation for the IP filing, but our UTA do have the finance support to provide the suitable IP filing for our researchers. So if any of you have any suitable patents or any IP applications that you guys are interested to apply to, of course, you guys can always refer to the consultancy and commercialization department. So I think they will help you and assist you in this part. Of course, the process to go through, we have to subject to the approval from the top management. So I'm sure if you can prepare a good proposal, I think that will actually support the application as well. Okay, so this on the IP applications, and I think we have our next question from Dr. Chua. So Dr. Chua?
Hi, Dr. Lim. My question is, because this is my first time also applying for FRGS, so we are supposed to submit a summary and supporting this form, right, to our this chair center, and after we the form is processed, then should we wait for any instruction before we click the online submission?
Okay, I think I can answer this question because I'm the RC chairperson before, so I've gone through the application process. So basically, once the researcher have prepared their grant applications in soft copy, first of all, they need to actually submit all these documents to the RC chairperson first for their approvals. So after the evaluation by RC chairperson, and once they obtained the approval from RC, they can straight away submit to the online forms for LKC FVS. Of course, for other faculty, their practice might be different. But for LKC FVS, basically once the researcher obtained the approval from the RC chairperson, they can submit directly through the Google link from the faculty.
That means through the Google link, not through the website, is it? My grant website.
No, you have to submit through the Google link for the faculty approval first, and then faculty, after they approve, they will submit to IPSR, and after that the IPSR will notify you to submit the proposal through my grant.
That means the SOP is after we got we just have to submit a form, and then after we got the support from the center chair, then we fill in the Google form. Then we will have to wait until IPSR inform us about whether we can submit or not, isn't it?
Yes.
Then only we go to the My Grants and submit online.
Yeah, basically before you submit, it's actually in draft mode, right, in your My Grant system. So after you receive a notification from IPSR, then you guys can actually change it to submit.
Oh, okay. By the way, right, I don't know because I just directly fill in the information in the online. So later when we want to submit the form to the center chair, right? Shall we actually arrange the information in similar to the migrant online information, or we have to is there any template, I would say, any template?
Basically from migrant, after you fill up the draft, you can just print it directly from the migrant and then you submit that as a soft copy to the attach as a supporting document to the research center chairperson. Yeah. So you don't need to actually reorder anything.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks. That's my question.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so do we have any other questions from the floor? Okay. Yep, Dr. Sim.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Dr. Stephen. Yeah, thank you so much for the panels for sharing your sessions. Okay, so I have a few questions regarding the FRGS applications content. So the first one, I just wonder, is it for the content of your application form, the research content, is it must be 100% is fundamentals research aims? Is it that means that just now few panel has shares about have to be a very fundamentals research since it's a FRGS. So fundamental usually is like a kinetic mechanism or algorithm, these kind of things. So can we include like to verify the besides the content of fundamentals, can we have a 10% or 20%, which is we want to verify the performance, the final performance of our synthesis product? Can it be included in over there, or is not advised to be included? So the content should be 100% is fundamental sound research. This is my first question. Second question is about the budget. So for the budget part, is it we have to adhere to the criteria that's set for the FRGS, like certain category, you have there's a percentage of the budget that you cannot over the percentage of the budget total allocation, like 10% or 20%. Is it we have to strictly adhere to that? And then yeah, the third one is regarding some of the criteria that you have to suggest, like I suggest that maybe I can from my grant application, at the end, maybe I can publish 2 papers. So let's say you have write it in your application form. So in your progress report or in your final report of FRGS, do you really have to fulfill that so that they will not blacklisted you or they will not penalize you for what you have written or promised in your application form? Yeah, that's all from me. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Sim, for your questions. So I think the first question is regarding the objective, whether it should be 100% fundamental or not. So is there any panel who would like to answer this?
Yeah, Dr. Stephen, maybe I can help to justify Dr. Sim's questions. So regarding to Dr. Sim's the first questions, whether is it possible to have all the objective to be to sound fundamental? Actually, I have experience on this before in 2017. So when I think that one is my first time to apply the FRGS. Also, I similar to Dr. Sim's conditions, or maybe 4 objective, 3 of it I try to make it fundamental, and then the last one I put it like to optimize the process parameter, something like that. So at the end, the panel from the KPT, the MoHE, the comment that I received is not 100%. The objective not 100% fundamental. That's why my that year my applications were being rejected. So my advice is that try your best to make it as fundamental as possible. But sometimes I know that maybe for chemical engineering, so when we I think it is just to play around with the keywords. So because when we set something to study the mechanism, actually we are doing the process study as well. So because we need the process study, the parameter from the process study, then only we can fit into the kinetic model, everything like that, so that we actually it is almost the same. It's just that how you present your objective in a more fundamental manner. So I hope I answer Dr. Sim's questions lah, the first questions. Regarding to the second question, I forget Dr. Sim's second questions already.
Oh, it's about the budget. Yeah.
Budget.
The criteria that how many percentage that we have to fulfill the criteria, like cannot over 10% or 20% of the total allocations or total budgets that we have proposed. Is it there's a certain criteria that we have to fulfill?
This one, I'm not sure about it. Maybe how about Dr. Chua and Dr. Tiam? Do you have experience on this before?
I can't remember the guideline, but then when I estimate my budget, I do always refer back to the guideline if I actually violate any rules or not.
Okay.
So and I am not sure whether there is an updated guideline on that, but then for me, my personal experience, I will always follow the guideline stated.
Okay.
Yeah. And for the questions about, let's say you committed for 2 journal publication, actually this is my first time to get the FRGS, so I'm not sure the consequences are. But then that day the sharing by the IPSR, they mentioned about the IP, so I guess it's a similar issue lah. If those who already committed with 1 IP stated in their application, although there is no allocation and it's actually not mandatory for the FRGS, but then IPSR reminded that since you already committed in black and white in the FRGS application, then you have to deliver it as an expected output.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Cho, for your sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the objective part.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Never mind. Dr. Chua,
part,
continue. Please continue.
Yeah, for the objective part, right? I think Dr. Sim is chemical, right? For me, ICT domain. Actually, my current proposal, I do have out of the 3 objectives, right? My first one is investigate. The second one, propose. It sounds more fundamental, but my third one, follow from my investigation and proposal of the new framework. Actually, the third bullet of my objective is actually improve the performance through the optimizations. So the improved performance through optimization, I think in general, it doesn't sound very fundamental, but it's still acceptable. Yeah, that's all for me.
For your sharing.
And okay, to top up Dr. Chua's comments on the publications, actually, Prof. Sumati, she did advise on, that means during the sharing session, she did advise that for the publications, we only need to deliver what we promise in the grant. So for example, if you promise in the proposal that you would deliver 2 journals, that means, okay, when you have 2 journals, that will be more than enough. She also advised that not to over-promise. That means you promise 2, but at the end you deliver 4. But actually, it is not necessary to put all the 4 publications in the final report because maybe I think she also mentioned that it is not a good way to show off ourselves. That's why she said do not overdo for our that means all these kinds of promise. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Tiam, do you want to add anything?
Okay. So regarding your third question, so for what you have written in your proposal, yes, it is best to fulfill all that you have promised. But if there is any unexpected situation, for example, this COVID MCO situation that may affect the progress of your experiment, for example, so actually you can provide justification in your progress report. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point from the panels. So thanks again for the answers. So we have our next question again from Dr. Chua. Dr. Chua.
Hi, Dr. Lim. Don't mind if I share the screen?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay, so this is actually our declaration, right? Okay. Just curious, they say the exact proposed work has not been funded through other research grant. how about does it include also the Utah RF? The exact proposed work has not been funded through other research grant, which means if we already got the Utah RF, right, we shouldn't apply for it or what?
Yep. Any panels would like to answer this?
I think it doesn't mean that you got the other grant you cannot apply FRGS, but it means that the exact proposal that you prepare exactly the proposal cannot be the same that you already apply for others, I guess.
Because Utah RF also want us to apply for the grant after we got it, right?
Yeah. I did that as well. I got the Utah RF December.
As long as the title is different, then okay already lah.
My content also different a bit lah, not to say totally different lah.
Okay, and then right, necessary approval from relevant bodies. If we don't tick this one, right, will it be okay? If we tick, then they will need to have some this attachment. I don't know whether is it compulsory to tick this or not. Necessary approval from relevant bodies.
Didn't tick it.
Oh, you didn't tick it, so it's fine lah. And also the ongoing fundamental. Sorry.
Seems okay.
Yeah, ongoing fundamental research. If we are core researcher, then we also have to tick, right?
This one I'm not sure.
Because they didn't mention whether it's a core researcher or it's a PI.
This one I can't answer. I think I also did not take on this fundamental ongoing fundamental because I'm also the core researchers of others FRGS grant also. So I did not take in this column as well.
I see. Okay. Thanks. I think then another question is, this is my research flow chart. I don't know whether this research flow chart will be too simple or actually it is require more complicated one. Is it look like the one you submit, or actually you have any suggestion for this or not?
Anyone want to answer this?
Yeah, one comment is that because I've been questioned before in the research flow chart as well, the reviewer mentioned that try not to put the literature review in our research flow chart. So because that one is not considered as the flow chart.
Okay.
Yeah. And my flow chart is also not also not complicated as well. I think as long as you can, the flow chart shows the flow of your research, and you can all the elements that all the objective that you stated already, you can that means it's clearly been seen in the flow chart. I think should be good enough. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Thanks a lot for your answer.
Yeah. To add on to
can I add
comment.
something on
Sure.
this flow chart, right? Just now, I think maybe there are a lot of variations. In my flow chart, I do, because literature review is one of the activity I list out. So I do include literature review. It seems like okay. I'm not getting any comment about the literature review that I stated in the flow chart. But in general, because the flow chart, I think it is your project very hard for me to comment whether it's too simple or too complicated. So I cannot comment on that. But then literature review, actually, I do include it in my flow chart, which is okay.
Okay, all right. Thanks for your
I think
comment.
basically the research flow chart, I think as long as it contains necessary important information about the workflow for your research project, I think should be sufficient, because you also do the detailed explanations in the main proposal itself, right? Instead of the flow chart. So I think as long as the reviewer, when they read through the explanation, they can understand, then should be fine.
Okay, all right, thanks. Thanks.
Okay, good. So we have another question from Dr. Yao.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I have a questions to Dr. Swee Hong. You mentioned that you were coming from another university, and it's exactly the same case for me now. And my account and project are still with previous university, and in fact, I have a FRGS grant with another university in which I'm the principal investigator. So when I come to Utah, so my project and everything is still with the other university. And I just want to ask, based on your experience, how long does it take for the transitions? And because currently my account and everything is still with other university. And when I want to apply for FRGS here, it seems like I can't do so because I am still holding another FRGS grant in previous organization. So how long does it take? And will I be able to make it for this round? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yao. Yeah, the same situations happens to me when back to the year of 2018. I think it's takes me around 2 or 3 months because you need to, from the system, you need to apply to change the your principal, your status from principal investigator to just a member of the team. And also you need your previous university to actually, you need to assign the leader from the previous university to be the leader of the project. And also in Utah, you also need to change everything. And means you need the IPSR to verify your that means the so-called new status, because you are now the staff of Utah. So I think it took me about 1 or 2 months to settle this issue. So that time also I can't make it in the applications of 2019 because I joined Utah in around September of 2018, and then for the 2019, because of this issue, I can't apply for that also. Yeah.
Okay, at this point of time, I have already initiated the change of leaderships, and the other organizations, the new leader has accepted it. So we're at this stage now. So I'm not sure how long do I still need to wait.
Maybe in that case, maybe it depends on the MoHE, how fast they can process and change. Actually, the most important thing is your status, change of your status in the migrant system. As long as your status in migrant has already changed, that means you are no longer the project leader of your previous one. I think you can start.
Okay, so this one, how long does it take?
That time, it is very difficult to tell an exact duration for that. If I think in that case, maybe you can try to email to the MoHE, to the respective person to ask for this situation. Usually would take how long? But for me, I wait already 1 or 2 months for that to settle. Yeah.
Okay, 1 to 2 months can still make it because the submissions is in March from the university, if not mistaken. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the answers. So now we have another question of Dr. Chua. Dr. Chua?
Sorry, I forgot to put down my hand. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Then we have another question from Dr. Man. Dr. Man, please.
Yes. I just have one question for the quotation part. Let's say I want to buy an equipment. So do I need to provide 3 quotation or only 1 quotation to submit to the system?
I only submitted 1 for each item.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Okay, yeah, basically I think the 3 quotation is basically only for Utah. So I think for migrant system, that as long as we attach 1 quotation will do. I think basically they just wants to have an estimation of the price rather than a price that we simply put in. Okay, so is there any other questions from the floor before we end our workshop today? I guess if the participant have any other questions, you guys can always contact our panels personally for their advice and further guidance for your proposals. Okay, so I guess this workshop has come to the conclusions, and I hope that all the participants have gained a lot of interesting insight and personal tips from the panels will be very beneficial for helping us preparing our proposals. Okay, before we end our workshop, of course, I'd like to ask the panels to have a group photo session together with the participants. So can you guys open up your webcam for us to take a photo together. Yep. So I'd like to encourage all the participants to open up your webcam to have this photo as a remembrance. Yeah. Thanks. Any more participants want to open up your webcam? Yeah. Okay, so I'll take the photo. Yep, we have more people opening up their webcam. Good. Anyone else? Okay, if no, then I will take the photo in 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay, thanks. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thanks again for all the participants and the panels for their insightful sharing. Thank you and take care and stay safe. Wish you all a happy new year in advance. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Take care.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year. Happy New